Hello everyone from the Novedge team. Welcome to today's webinar, Interior Design. It's not just kitchen design, and so don't just call it kitchen design. Vectorworks 2017 as powerful tools and techniques for interior design work. Our presenter, Jonathan Pickup, will be using a kitchen as the basis of this project, but he will also be looking at how you can use Vectorworks for creating more of an interior design that shows the details of the kitchen, how the kitchen connects to other rooms, demolition plans, and furniture, and many more things, so stick around. For the few of you who don't already know him, Jonathan Pickup is an architect trained in New Zealand and in the UK with more than 30 years of experience. He has been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer support for more than 15 years. His company, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks. He also runs the Vectorworks Online User Group and provides its main direction. But before we get going, I want to give you an overview of what we do in Novedge. I don't know if you know, but Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software, and we offer a huge assortment of software solutions for every designer's need. We have it all. Think of Novedge as the one-stop shop for all your design software tools. And you can find us at novedge.com. And for more daily software news and limited time promotions, you can find us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and also we run the Novedge blog. Coming up next week, new rendering power for design and architecture using V-Ray for Rhino. Last but not least, today's webinar is free and is being recorded live. So if you want to rewatch this or any webinar episode in our collection, just head on over to Novedge's YouTube and Vimeo channels. And now I'm going to pass the screen to Jonathan so he can take it away and start the presentation. Let me know if you see the request window. There you go.
Sweet. All right, thank you very much, Barbara. So, yeah, we're going to talk about interior design. I'm going to use the kitchen, but really the stuff that I want to show you, you can apply to much more than just a kitchen design. So just about me, just in case you weren't paying attention, as Barbara said, I'm trained as an architect in New Zealand and the UK. I worked with MicroStation and Minicab before returning in 1997. Seems so long ago, Barbara. So last century. And I've created several manuals for Vectorworks. Now some of these have been published by Vectorworks. Some of you might know my Vectorworks Architect tutorial manual or my central tutorial manual. So you can see that I've got the ability to create these rather large manuals. And so I've been presenting and creating courses for Vectorworks for over 20 years. So the idea today, our objectives for today, we want to learn how we can measure and draw an existing building, how we can show demolished and existing walls. We want to learn how to use the standard Vectorworks cabinets. We're going to go through that. And we also want to learn how to use the Vectorworks custom cabinet, which came out in Vectorworks 2017. And we'll probably spend a lot of time working with that custom cabinet because it is very powerful. We'll have a quick look at BIM objects if we can, and if we have time, we might have a look at lighting. So, measuring a building. Now, I do have a manual. We're not going to cover it today, but I wrote a manual last year on alterations and additions to Vectorworks. And I actually covered in detail how you can use a tool like this Bosch Blue Beam laser measure thing. It is brilliant for measuring buildings, and the Bosch have got a lovely little app that you can put on your iPad, and it connects to that measuring device, and you can put the plan in very well, even putting in the doors and windows and exporting elevations of those doors and windows and where electrical services are. And of course your trusty old steel tape measure. So if you want to look at exactly how to measure a building or my strategy for measuring a building, there's a manual for that. Now I've measured my building. It's a kitchen. It's a kitchen that I know very well. And I've got most of my measurements in. Now I think I don't have all of them. Some of them I think are, never mind. But I think we've got enough to go ahead today. And besides, if I really mess up, I've got some files where I've already got a lot of the measurements in anyway. So that's what we're going to do. Let's get started. So here's the final result. So you can see it's a kitchen, but you can see that I've got here custom cabinets, I've put lighting, I've changed the windows and doors, I've got these are BIM objects, these chairs. So we're going to start and see how far we can get through this. And if we have time, we'll have a look at some of these objects like this. This is a shelving unit that I've used, this is an extrusion, and it looks like a blackboard because I used a texture and put the blackboard texture on it. Things like the range hoods have got lights in them already, so when I put them into the plan, they automatically start showing the lights. So let's get started. I've got some files to get started with. It doesn't want to show me that page. Oh, it's GoToMeeting in the way. Okay, let's get started. There we are. There's my file. And you can see I've already put some dots in the way so that I can see where to get started. So I'm going to start with the wall tool. Now I'm going to be using my workspace, which is Designer, because Designer also includes the custom cabinet. Later on we'll be using this custom cabinet. It's in the furniture tool set and it's that one there. So let's start with walls. And one of the things that comes up with walls is that you can either have the rectangle mode or the polygon mode. So let's just have a look at the difference between these two modes. Now I might be using a wall style. You can see I've got a wall style here. I'm going to change all of that because although I could use a wall style, I think that for a existing building, it's actually a lot better to think about using sorry, I'm just going to take a break. There's a question there. I don't sound. Can everyone hear me all right, Barbara?
Yes, we can. I think,
okay.
yeah, I think sometimes single individual may have some problem, but
All
we're
right.
good.
So I'm going to put all of these walls, all my existing walls are going to go into a class called wall existing. And I'm going to use an unstyled wall. And one of the questions is always, well, why do you use an unstyled wall? Why don't you, have wall styles for demolition walls and wall styles for existing walls? And the answer's often been that my existing walls often have different thicknesses. Now, if you've got different thicknesses, and I've worked on projects where there's, one wall's 4.5 inches, another one's 5, another one's 5.5, 6.5, 12, you end up with half a dozen wall styles. And then you need another half a dozen wall styles for the demolition wall. Well, actually, it's kind of just easier to have them unstyled, and then you can change the width, and you can change the width very quickly, and you can also then change the class very quickly. So this is the polygon mode for drawing walls, and you can see very quickly you can draw a few walls. But a lot of people forget about this one, the rectangle mode, because it's really quick to draw a rectangular wall. Now, I actually want that wall thickness to be 150 millimeters or about 6 inches. And I know that it starts here and it goes to that point there. So I'm just going to draw that as a rectangular mode. You see how much quicker it is. I have an option here. I've gone back to my selection tool. So I've got an option here to auto join my walls. Auto joining my walls allows me to automatically connect walls together when they touch. I need that turned on because if I go back to my drawing mode, there's a wall there and a wall there. And you'll notice that when I draw these 4 walls, Vectorworks has recognized that one of those walls is touching one of the other ones. And when I click, Vectorworks says, oh, you're joining that wall, so I'll tidy it all up for you and I'll put it in there. And so that's a really handy way to have that wall tidy up for you. Now I just need to have my dimensions as well. So I'm going to go back to my dimension plan. And I need to have a wall through here. So I could just extend that wall across here. Just take that wall out and extend it through there. I've got another wall which is offset from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join those two together. That one to there. I need a wall. And I know that there's a wall from this point here. I'm going to use my G key. The G key because it creates a floating datum. So down to there, this needs to be an offset of minus 663. Click to start. Hit the U key once and you'll see the wall jump the side. It'll go to the control line will go to the middle. Now it goes to the outside. And there's also a wall down here through here. This wall also extends down here, so what I'm going to do is just drag that down and it comes down to line with that one. But what I'm going to do is to go back to my wall tool, make sure I've got that one lining up, U key again, and then I'm just going to join those together. Back to my wall joining, join that one to there, and join that one to there. So at the moment I'm just putting in my existing walls, and they're on the class wall existing. And when it comes time to make the walls demolished, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, I might have thought of the plan I want to do. Maybe, for example, we want to turn this wall here into a new load-bearing wall. It's going to go all the way up there, and we're going to remove that wall, that one, remove all of this wall, and so on. So we're going to have a bit of fun with that design. Now, I'm not going to talk to you too much about the design. I've sketched it out ahead of time, and I've got some files I'm going to open when I need to. Because we've got quite a lot to cover today, and I don't want to spend too much time on some of these things. But let's have a look at using our split tool. Now, the split tool will allow me to go to a part of the wall, click, and I'm going to remove it all the way down to that point there as well. Click. So I've now split that wall into bits. It used to be a single wall, and now split into parts. So there's that part. And all I need to do is to assign that to the new class, wall demolished, and you notice it changes its graphic style. So I could go through now and split the walls where I know that we want to have a joint, and then select the walls that I'm going to demolish, and then assign the right class to them. Now, one of the things I sometimes do is where I've got a long list of classes. Now, this is quite short for me because I've got lots of groups, but sometimes where I've got a very long list of classes, I might be down here and I might be looking at the class, wall demolished, yeah, that's the one I want to use. Right click and assign to selection. And I find this is sometimes easy to use the navigation palette to do that. I should really put in some doors and windows. So let's have a look. There they are. I've put in all my doors and windows, and now I can select the walls that I want to demolish. So I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to remove that wall, that wall, that wall, and you can see I've already split these. And again, right click, assign to selection, and now they appear to be demolished walls. Which means that when I turn those classes, or when I turn that class off, those walls will vanish, and I'll be left with a clean plan. And there's a bit of a wall here I also need to demolish, that bit there. So now I've got a clean plan, I can start to put in my proposed walls. Back to my wall tool, this time I'm going to use my wall style. And at this point I need to turn off my auto join walls because I'm now drawing walls on top of walls that are already there. I do not want them to move, so I'm going to turn that off. So that's a new wall through there. Now I've made a mistake, so I'm just going to use the backspace or the delete key and double click to finish that wall. Double click to finish that wall. I've got another wall through here. I need to use the U key again for that. And I also need to put in, there's going to be a door just in this area here, and this is going to be an area for a cupboard. I'm going to put a cupboard in there, or a pantry, and my laundry is going to go into that area. And I might need to move this wall, so I'm not that worried about joining it just yet, because I need to put in a door for that. Are there any questions so far? It doesn't look like it. So no one's got any questions about creating the demolished walls or creating the drawings for the demolished walls? So let's put in a door. This is going to go in there, so that's going to be my laundry door, and I'm also going to put in one here for the pantry as well. And I can move that. One of the things I love doing is the set position. We can say from that point there to the start of my door needs to be about 2 inches, 50 millimeters, and it'll just move that door for you. In this case, it was a bit short, so I'll just move it up. I can flip the door, so the door opens out, and I can put shelving in there if I need to. So now let's look at putting in some base cabinets. So I'm looking for, I really want to have a file that's got nothing in it. I'm going to start a brand new blank drawing. I don't want to use one of my template files because they're all full of information. So I'm going to go back to a blank drawing. I'm going to create a blank drawing, and I'd like to look at the active layer scale 1 to 50, and let's look at creating a base cabinet. So this is our base cabinet tool here. We can double click to place a base cabinet. Now I could go through and make some setting changes. I'm not going to just at the moment. I'm just going to OK that and look at that in 3D. So this is the start of my cabinetry, or my millwork, if you use that term. And I need to turn on my lines so that you can see it a little bit more accurately. I don't have a light in, but if I did, the shadows would be an improvement. So a lot of people don't like this cabinet because of the way that it looks. I quite often use this cabinet because I found that you can change quite a lot of the design if you start to play with these reveals. So the top reveal is the distance from the top of the drawer to the underside of the countertop. I'm going to make that 10 millimeters, nearly ½ an inch. The bottom reveal, from the bottom of the door to the bottom of the carcass, make that a 0. Side reveal, from the side of the door to the edge of the carcass, make that 5 millimeters, or ½ an inch. And the center reveal between these two parts here, make that 5 millimeters, or ½ an inch again. And also the mid reveal, which is between the drawer at the top and the door, make that a 5. And now it's a much more modern looking cabinet. I can change the width, the length. So the length needs to be about nearly 2 feet. What kind of end finish has it got? What kind of door style have I got? Down here, I want that to be a 3 drawer unit. It's got a skinny drawer at the top, then 2 drawers below. But one of the things you can do with this is you can use classes to control those cabinets. Now I'm going to bring in one that I've used on another project if I can. So let's go back to that one. Now I've got a feeling that that particular file had all the, didn't use these cabinets, uses custom cabinets. So let's create some classes. I like to use classes for my projects. I'm going to choose a file that's got my information. I'm just going to drag my window across to the side if I can. So Dropbox, manuals. It's not letting me drag the window. All right, so I'm just going to have to carry on with it. So in my courses, in my live courses, I have some resource files to use, this one here. So this is one of my standard files. It's got standard classes in it. So I'm going to find the ones that relate to my interior design, that relate to my cabinetry. So it's all of those ones. And because I've got those standard files set up already, it's real easy for me to just go and grab them. So the cabinet is on the class interior, joinery, component, and cabinet. The doors. The kick, which is the toe space. And the countertop. So I've assigned classes to the different parts of my base cabinet. And the reason I've assigned different classes to those parts is so that I can edit those classes in my navigation palette and assign textures to those. So let's look at the doors. Let's edit that door. and we're going to assign a texture. So I'm just going to use a standard Vectorworks wood texture. I think there was one down the bottom here somewhere. I always lose the plywood one when I look for it. Right, so where's the wood? There's a floor arrow way. Let's use that one. And you can see I've now got a texture on that cabinet. Now if I put in another cabinet, it's not going to be the same as all the options that I've just changed. So what we need is a technique that will take the information that we've adjusted on this one and make it our default. So before we do that, let's just assign some drawer pulls and door pulls as well. So you can see that it's got the drawer handles. The eyedropper tool, if I look at the settings, I've got them all turned on. So when I suck up the attributes of this cabinet, it's going to suck up the fill, the pen, the text, but the important one is the plugin parameters. So you could, if you want to, have nothing turned on and just have the plugin parameters, pick up sets defaults, okay, copy that object, and the next time I grab my base cabinet, it's a copy. Notice the textures are still there. Now the beauty of doing this with the textures and having all the textures the same is that when I edit that texture, or I edit that class and reassign a different texture, I should be able to find a better wood maybe. I thought there was a wood one here. There it is, down the bottom, wood, that one. And both cabinets have updated. So both cabinets are using the same graphic style, the same texture, which is kind of cool. So let's get rid of one of those and we'll go to the next one, which is a wall, this one here, which is a wall unit. And this wall unit is designed to look a little bit like a base cabinet, but designed to sit above a cabinet. So the left corner length, that's going to be 595 again. The height, I want them to finish at 2100 minus the offset. So there's there's a height that we can start above finished floor level here, the AFFL. So the height of this, 2100 minus 1400. The depth, 300, the thickness, and so down here we also have the ability to control the classes. So cabinet, joinery, component, cabinet again, and the doors, interior, joinery, component, doors again. So what kind, that's a wall hung. Does that have doors on it? So top reveal, 0, bottom reveal, 0. Side reveals, 5, and center reveal, also 5. So there's my unit, and it looks like I might have it back to front, have I? Oh yes, I do. All right, so let's just turn that around and give it a rotation of 0. Put one on top of the other. So now you can see I've got a consistency between my drawer fronts. And when I update the class and change the texture for that, both will update together. Someone's asking if I could use the eyedropper to paste the attributes from the base unit. Sometimes you can, but the parameters are different. So the two units are using different parameters. They're not the same kind of unit, so that you could use the same, exactly the same parameters. It might work. I haven't tried it, so I would suspect that it might not work. But Chris, if you want to use these, don't forget, suck up the attributes. Now, one of the other things you can do with the base cabinet, if you're going to use this on a regular basis, save it. Save the base cabinet, and it becomes a style that you can use on a regular basis. Let's go back to that one. Let's save that wall cabinet. And you'll find that these now show up in my resource manager. And now you can double click to use one of those. So I want to use another base cabinet, double click, put one of those in there. And if I wanted to have a different unit, it's so much quicker, and it's a way of making sure that, or it really speeds you up with this ability if you make these into symbols. So let's get rid of that extra one I put there, and we've also got a tall one, which is our utility cabinet. I'm not going to worry about the graphic style of this. I think I've been through it, so you can see we can use a utility cabinet. I don't know if anyone noticed in my introduction, I showed a spice rack on the wall, and I used a shelving unit for that. I don't think I've saved it. The height was only about 700, the width was about 600. It only had about 4 shelves on it, because I like a nice skinny one, and the depth, really skinny. And then I wanted to change the style is open or built-in, and it just becomes a series of shelf units. So that can be quite handy for where you want to have a pantry and you want to put the shelving in. You can do that, or you just want shelves sticking off the wall. You can do that as well. So you only want a couple of shelves and you just want them hanging on the wall, magically coming off the wall. And I could put those on the same class as the doors. Back finish, shelf finish, that's the one I should have used. Joinery, component, doors, and they've got the same texture as my doors. So when I update my class for the doors, all of my objects will update with the same graphic style. Someone's asked if my graphic render is OpenGL, and yes it is. And I've set it so that if I go back to here, I've set my default so that when I change from a top plane view to a 3D view, I go into a perspective view and I go to OpenGL. Now it's not the way that I always used to work, because it used to go to wireframe by default, but I've found that working in OpenGL is an advantage for me. So are there any other questions about the standard units? Because I'd like to get into the custom cabinet soon. So this is the Vectorworks custom cabinet. So I'm going to place a custom cabinet, and it really doesn't look much. The height is wrong, that should be 840. The depth, the width should be 595, the depth should be 595. And it really doesn't look like much. So you might have tried this unit and said, well, I don't know, Jonathan, it just looks like a cardboard box. What's the guts with this? So let's have a look at our settings and see what we can do with this cabinet. So first of all, this is our custom cabinet. We can change the size, which we've already done. We can also assign it to a specific class. So I might have a class for millwork main. But the details, I'd like to add a plinth. This is what they call a toe space, and I'm going to OK that. So you notice straight away I've got a simple cabinet, no shelves, no drawers, but at least I've got my toe space now. So let's look at the way this cabinet has been designed. So the idea is the cabinet can be broken up into chunks. This is called the front, and when I click on it, it highlights the front, and the front has one column and one box. Columns are vertical, boxes are horizontal. If I say that I want to have 2 boxes, I hit the enter key by mistake. Let's go back to that. So 2 boxes. And I want the top box. So now I've clicked in the top box. I want that top box to be 6 inches. Let's OK that. And you can see what I've got is a shelf now. So I've got a bit at the top, and then I've got a big hole at the bottom. Back to my details. So this bit at the top, click in it so it highlights in red. That wants to be a single drawer with a handle staked. Now the split down the bottom I've just clicked in, so the whole thing highlights in red. I want that to be 2 drawers with a staked handle. And I want the handle to be at the bottom, no, that's silly, at the top. And then OK. So you can see it's quite flexible in terms of being able to make a cabinet. So let's go back to our settings for that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time looking at the attributes, but I can go to my door and my drawer, and I can tell it what kind of texture I want here. So what sort of texture do we want that to be? The class texture. We want that to use interior, joinery, component, doors, so it's got the same texture as my doors. So someone's asked if it's a custom cabinet happens to be an exposed end cabinet, is there a way to close off the plinth space? Not with this particular tool, Richard. So there are other tools. So there's this custom cabinet is a derivative from a product called InteriorCAD. InteriorCAD comes in the full version, which is for joinery, and InteriorCAD XS, which is really for kitchen design, Richard. But Richard, one of the things I would say is, why not just make a like a very skinny cabinet and stick it on the end to close it off? And let's go back to my settings. Now with InteriorCAD XS, you can actually tell it which panels you want to turn on or off. And so sometimes I make a panel which is really skinny. There's my base, so back to my details. So what else can I do to this? So let's delete all of that. Let's delete all of those, or have no box item. So one of the things I could do is to have a series of columns. So I could make 2 columns. On this side, I could make 2 boxes. Click on this one. This top box is 150, and this bottom one has 2 drawers with staked handle. This one has a single drawer with the handle. And this side over here might have double doors, the handle. Maybe we need to make this wider. If we go back to our details, we click here. So what do I want that column width to be? Maybe that should be 600 wide. So the custom cabinet, I think, is extraordinarily flexible. I've used it once in a kitchen where I made the width. It's about 3 meters wide, about 12 feet long. So about 3 meters long. Let's go to our details. I made, I think, about 6 or 7, maybe 8 columns. Let's go up 1 level. So about 8 columns. So I need to select just the whole one. Now there's an up button, I think. But I'll show you when we get to it that you can create a very wide cabinet and you can adjust each of these. I'm just going to escape from that. So that makes the custom cabinet quite flexible. You can make it tall, you can make it narrow, you can make it wide, you can add lots of parts to it. So what I'd like to show you is what I've done previously. Someone's asked if I can do face frames. Hold on, let me go back to that. Where's my blank one gone? That one. Let me just go to the settings, the drawer front. Two drawers, handle position. I'm not sure I can, maybe it's under attributes. Yeah, I'd have to get back to you on that one, I think, William, about the face frames. I know with an InteriorCAD XS we can even use a symbol to control the graphic style of the frame that goes around the outside. So I'd have to come back to you about whether this custom cabinet can do it. So Phil, for the conceptual design, where we're not worried about the actual construction of this product, yeah, why not make a long custom cabinet instead of individual ones and sticking them together? Now, it might be in terms of construction, the joiner wants to make one long cabinet or wants to make a series of individuals, but surely you can do that down the track. I don't think you can change the thickness of the side panel. I thought I saw that somewhere. Details, attributes, draw. No, I'm sorry, Genevieve, that's one thing I don't think you can change, is the thickness of the side panel. So remember, this is, I'm showing you the standard Vectorworks plugin object. I'm not showing the interior CAD one. If you're interested in looking at the interior CAD one, you'll have to come to my webinar that I'm doing in May, where I write a manual, but only those of you that are subscribers will be able to come along to that one. So in May, we're going to look at the interior CAD in detail. That's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at the Vectorworks custom cabinet that's standard with Vectorworks 2017. So that's my custom cabinet. I want to go back to my file where I had some custom cabinets already in it, because I'd like to show you what they look like. Now, one of these was the full version. This is it here. So all of these are custom cabinets, and these custom cabinets are individuals rather than one long one. Custom cabinet for that, custom cabinet for there, and I just need to turn my view around because there's another custom cabinet in this area here, and I just need to zoom in a bit. Okay, so there's a cabinet here, so that's a group, so I'm going to enter that group. So this is a custom cabinet. Now the television doesn't come with part of the custom cabinet, that was a standard Vectorworks object. So I can delete that television. So there we are. So what we've got was we've got a custom cabinet for the top and a custom cabinet for the bottom. So if I separate them, you'll see them. Custom cabinet for the top and a custom cabinet for the bottom. So not just using the cabinets for kitchen design, using the cabinets for interior design. So if we have a look at this custom cabinet and I edit the settings of it, so there it is. That's my custom cabinet. There's my length, my height. So for the details, you might notice that for the plinth, instead of having a continuous plinth, I've chosen square legs. And you can, if you want, create your own square leg symbol so that the square legs are taller or shorter, and they have an effect on your cabinet. So I don't know if you notice, I made a tall square leg, so I end up with a very skinny cabinet with very deep space underneath it. I've then created double drawers there, a left hinge door, a right hinge door, and 2 drawers at the end as well. So that's for the bottom, and for the upper part, I created a custom cabinet which had 3 sections, doors with drawers inside, shelves in the middle, and, doors with shelves inside on the right. So that, although in the design it looks like a single object, it is in fact 2 custom cabinets. Now there's a few questions about this. So can you change the panel thickness? I don't think so. Am I showing you interior CAD or Vectorworks, standard Vectorworks? And can you ungroup this to get the cutting list items? Now I'm sorry, James, this is if you want interior CAD XS, not only will it give you the cutting list items, it'll give you the part layouts that you can send to your CNC machine, but that's not what we're talking about here today. So I want to go back to my kitchen and have a look at some of these items that we've got here. I think I told you that some of these items are slightly special. This one isn't. It looks like a shelf, a spice rack, but it's really a shelving unit where I turned off the sides and the back. This is a simple extrusion with a texture that makes it look like blackboard, and that's an extrude along a path where I just drew the shape I wanted, drew a rectangle, and extrude along a path. And here I thought I had some kind of fun furniture, this one here and this one here. I got those from the standard Vectorworks library, so from the resource manager. I think it was from the subscription library. It was one of these furniture ones. I think it was the MUI, that one. So it was one of these ones. And there it is there. So I downloaded that one, I used that one. And I got another one there as well. So I think we have some saved views. There's the start view there, and I put some windows in, and I put the lighting in the range hood. So if we have time, we should really have a look at that. I'm going to edit the 3D component and go back to a wireframe so you can see it. So this is a simple, rather simple range hood. And it's just got a point light source in it. So I put texture on, I think I put a stainless steel texture on that range hood. It's a NURB surface, it's got the brushed metal texture, and it's got a light source in it. And it's very easy to put the light source in if you'd prefer to swap that light source to something like a point light or a spotlight. And you can change the color, you can change the shadows, you can change the distance fall off. And if it was a light and range hood, it might be a wider beam. So we can make that much wider, like that. And exit the symbol, and we should see a difference to the lighting. So it's got more of a subtle light to it. So one of the reasons I put the light inside the range hood, Richard, is so that when I go to put the range hood in the plan, it automatically has the light in it, and it just creates a nice little focal point in that part of the kitchen. The sink I got from the Vectorworks library, but these chairs I got from BIM Object. So I'd like to show you BIM Object. This is the BIM Object tool. You have to go to the BIM Object website and register. But once you've done that, it then gives you a code number which you can put into Vectorworks so that you can go to the BIM Object website without leaving Vectorworks. I was just thinking at the moment it should be connecting to my BIM Object warehouse. Okay, there it is there. So now what I want to do is I want to find a stool or a piece of furniture to go in there. So it's got my settings. Now I want to find something, so I click on the Browse Download button. So now it's going on the internet. It's looking up that BIM warehouse or the BIM object, and now I can start to search. So I'm looking for something that will use, here we are, so file types, I'm searching for Vectorworks file types or AutoCAD file types or 3ds, and I can turn some of those off if I don't want to use those. So I'm looking for file types that are just Vectorworks here, and I want a chair. So it should give me the opportunity to download a chair. There's a simple one there. How about that one? So I just click on it. Let's have a look. Download. What kind of download options do I have? I got a Vectorworks download option, so I'll download that. I might think as it converts it, and then I should be able to place that into my drawing. So while it's thinking about that, because it might be slow on the internet with my GoToMeeting as well, Are there any other questions I need to answer? Richard, I think I've answered your question. I think I've answered James. Chris, I think that same as William, how about that? So I managed to make it fall over. Well, maybe that's time that we started wrapping up. Barbara, I don't know what happened to that. In the past, I've done that and it works for me.
Yeah, I can attest to that. We rehearsed yesterday and everything was boom.
So are there any other questions that you want me to add? Oh, okay, so there are loads of questions now. Great, let's start answering some of these questions. How do you put a sink in a custom cabinet? The way that I did it was to, I don't know if anyone noticed, but there was a very thick part to the waterfall benchtop, which disguises most of the custom cabinet. Remember that we're looking at this custom cabinet as a simple cabinet design thing. It's not a complex cabinet design thing. If you really want to have the complex design thing, interior CAD is really the way to go. Now, I'm not going to show you interior CAD because I just don't want to get into that at the moment. Where's our custom cabinet? There it is there. The custom cabinet is reasonably flexible, but remember it's almost like demoware, showing you some of the power and flexibility of interior CAD. If you really want to have that total flexibility, I suggest you look at buying interior CAD XS. I think, Barbara, I don't know if do you guys sell it in Novedge?
Interior CAD?
Yeah, interior CAD XS.
I don't think so. Let me check. I'll get back to you in a few minutes.
Okay. I don't think it's prohibitively expensive. I think it's not cheap, but I think for what you get, it's pretty good value for money. So someone's asking how I built my island benchtop. Actually, what I did was I had a series of cabinets that I used, and then I drew on top of them. So if we go back to our custom cabinet, this is our custom cabinet. So the height of our cabinet was 840. The length of our cabinet was about 2.5 meters. So let's say that's our base cabinet or our custom cabinet, and the depth is, I think was about 600. So one of the easy ways I felt to draw that island unit was to put the cabinets in first and then use my automatic working planes and then draw a rectangle, extrude that, and I extruded these by 80 millimeters, which is just over 3 inches. And then you can mirror it to the other end, because if you can find the middle cabinet, you can easily mirror that. So we can find the center of that, and we want to mirror that along there, making sure that it's going there. So I've got one piece there, one piece at that end, and then draw another rectangle using, again, my automatic working planes from that corner to that corner, and again making it 80 millimeters thick. But if I add those parts together, so select those three, right click, add solids, they become a single solid object, but then I use my push-pull tool to create the overhang. Which I thought was a pretty easy way to do it. It doesn't have to be a Vectorworks download from the BIM Objects website. It will translate other CAD files into Vectorworks for you. But if you're going to do that, Gary, I would suggest that you import those into a blank file first to see what you're getting once it's done its translation. The custom cabinet, not to my knowledge, doesn't have the ability to have glass doors. Is there a way to build multiple base cabinets without the lines showing up? You can turn off, with the base cabinets, I think you can turn off one of the options so that you don't see so much detail. Base cabinet. So I think if you turn off the detail, where's it down here? So let's turn off show detail. And so now I don't see the detail, all I see is the lines one after the other. So that's in plan view in 3D, you can still see both cabinets. But if you turn off the detail, which is just here, show detail, then you don't see the lines between the cabinets. So are there any other quick questions that we've got? We're running out of time now. I just wanted to remind people that what you went over today, we learned how to use the measure tools, we learned how to use the standard cabinets, we learned how to use the custom cabinet, we looked at adding lighting, we looked at using how to use BIM objects, and we forgot to do the export web view. So maybe I can do a quick export web view of this. So file, export, export web view, and I'm going to export all objects in all layers. And so export web view is kind of fun because it allows you to create a file format that's online, so a Vectorworks, so web-based file format that allows you to send the link to your client so that they can walk around your scene. Let's see if that's worked for me. There it is there. So now what I can do is I could send that link to my client and they can walk around their kitchen and they can study it from any angle that they want. And it's a powerful technique for sending that information so that the client can walk through it, so the client can do a walkthrough. If they're on an iPhone or a Samsung smartphone, they can actually put the binoculars on and they can walk through like a virtual reality thing. And finally, what to do next. Don't forget that I run a Vectorworks subscription website, ArchonCAD.com. Every month I write a new manual. What you saw today was a small subsection from the manual I wrote last year. Next month we're actually going to look at interior CAD XS in detail. Not the full interior CAD, just the cut down XS version. Yeah, someone's just made a comment that you can export parts to DXF to a third party like AlphaCam. You can use it CNC. So there's quite a lot you can do with that. If you're interested in learning more about Vectorworks and you feel the urge to take a course, don't forget my store, store.archoncad.com, where I've got a whole lot of courses ready for you to take to improve your Vectorworks knowledge. So thanks very much, Barbara. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. It was our pleasure. I'm going to take the screen back, and in the meantime, I will try and answer to your question if we sell interior CAD for Vectorworks and we don't. But what a great idea, and I'll look into it, and it will be a great addition to our catalog, so stay tuned. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I want to remind you to visit our page at novedge.com, where you can find the entire line of Vectorworks product at the best price. Novedge is the best way to buy design software online. For information on the latest specials, new releases, join the Novedge network on Facebook, Google+, or Twitter. And remember, the next week we will present the webinar, New Rendering Power for Design and Architecture Using V-Ray for Rhino. To rewatch today's webinar or previous ones, check out our Novedge YouTube and Vimeo channels. Our webinar playlist has webinars for every software taste. Thanks again for joining us today. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Always a pleasure. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me, Barbara. Bye.
Bye.